Welcome back to another episode of The Simpsons Did It. I'm your host, Steven Skolansky.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
Well, it's Turkey Day,
But it's not Turkey
or
Day.
very close to Turkey Day. I think by
Very
the time
close.
that this episode comes out, it'll be very close to Turkey Day. We kind of hit
Yes.
Halloween and Thanksgiving pretty close.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
I don't know the actual dates, unfortunately, when this episode is going to drop, but it's going to be very close to Thanksgiving.
So as we have alluded to, this is season 2, episode 7, Bart versus Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he
But
gets into a fight with Thanksgiving.
yes.
It's the showdown of the century,
Or of the 90s.
or of the 90s. So, recap on Thanksgiving, Bart runs away after accidentally wrecking Lisa's centerpiece, which was a gorgeous centerpiece that she worked
Yeah.
a
By the
long
way,
time on.
the air date of this episode was November 22nd, 1990. And as we've stated previously in other episodes, starting in season 2, Fox moved The Simpsons to Thursdays. This aired on Thanksgiving.
Which it was either completely random or I think they could have planned it because it was actually Thanksgiving, but normally new shows don't air on holidays.
Correct. Well, yeah, that's correct. Unless you
Normally.
count Super Bowl Sunday as a holiday, which a lot of people in this country do. So, I mean, but yes, most
TV
shows do
shows.
not
Yep.
have holiday episodes on that holiday,
No.
except for Halloween. A lot of the times, The Simpsons will hit Halloween depending on the year, but normally it's like the 28th or 29th.
They'll be off by a day this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so the chalkboard gag this week, I will not do that thing with my tongue.
I don't know what he's
Wow.
talking about. I don't know.
Maybe doing the raspberry, or I don't know. What else do you do with your tongue that's very inappropriate?
Stick it out at people?
I mean, that's a kid thing. I feel like
Mm.
most kids do that.
For those of you who can't see us, because, well, this is a podcast, I just stuck my tongue out.
Yeah. So maybe, just maybe, I don't know if this was, you know the thing where you put your fingers on the side of your mouth and do the tongue between your fingers, and you know what that means?
Yes.
Maybe that's what Bart was doing. I mean, once we get through this episode, you'll see how bad Bart really is.
But he's 8.
But maybe he knows. I don't know.
I don't know. So
What do you think?
I don't think he knows.
You don't think he knows that one?
No. I mean, he might do it without realizing what it means, but
he did that thing with his tongue, and now he's in the classroom writing it on the chalkboard.
maybe he just stuck it out. I don't know. The couch gag this week, the Simpsons run in to find Grandpa Simpson sleeping on the couch, and they wake him up, and he screams in terror.
And he's like completely disoriented, like he didn't realize that he was sleeping on the
Yeah.
Simpsons couch.
I mean, isn't he supposed to be at the old folks' home?
He should be, but remember, sometimes he wanders.
He does wander. He's a wanderer.
So we open on Marge preparing Thanksgiving dinner, while in the living room, Homer watches TV while Bart has a couch cushion over Lisa's face, taking his glue.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When we come into the living room, it's going on, and there's a good minute in the show that goes by before Homer is like, all right, this is enough, stop it. And it's like, I feel like that took a long time. Like, I feel like Bart holding the couch cushion over Lisa was going on for much longer than what we saw.
And it's so funny that Lisa basically said, Bart, the only reason you want my glue is because I want it. And he's like, no. It's like, okay, fine. Here, have the glue. I don't want your stupid glue.
Yeah. Well, but it's the family glue.
It is. But Bart really didn't want it. He just didn't want Lisa to have it.
So prior to going into the living room, Maggie slips out of her high chair again. They need to invest in a better high chair, or Maggie is just super smart.
I mean, she is, and this is another episode where we find Maggie literally wandering around the entire Simpson house, the entire episode.
She's like the baby in the shorts from Animaniacs with the squirrels.
Yeah.
She's the
Or
baby from
or
she's the
Stewie. I
or
mean, Stewie's
Stewie.
allowed to pretty much just wander around and
That's true. So Homer's watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we see the TV, and we get our first physical appearance of Bill and Marty of KBBL.
and I like the fact that they have no idea how to announce a parade
I mean, do
or
you really
say,
need to announce a parade? Oh, here's this
well
people.
they
Here are these people. Oh, look at that balloon.
now the question is, was this in Springfield or were they in New York for the Macy's Day parade?
It had to have been New York.
Okay, so
Oh,
we're gonna get to
God.
the so
I know where
two
you're going.
local
I know where you're
so
going.
so two local radio station guys from Springfield get to travel to New York to announce for the parade.
Yeah.
So is Springfield in New York or somewhere around that vicinity that they're like, oh, you know what, we should have you come. But then Homer's watching football and he's rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. So is Springfield in Texas? Not that you have to be from the state where you root for your team, but
Well, don't
the
forget, Dallas
majority.
plays on national television.
So you think, but you said Dallas is his favorite football team. Well, he says it. He
Dallas
says
is
it as
his
a
favorite
joke.
football team.
So is
The
he from?
Seattle Mariners are my favorite baseball team. I'm not from Seattle.
No, but that's just weird. But
No, it's not.
the 90, but I would say a good chunk of anyone from that state, that's their favorite team. A good chunk of people that are from that state and have
But
it as their
also,
favorite team.
the nickname of the Dallas Cowboys is America's team. So
So
maybe that's what they were alluding to, is Homer being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
maybe. So while Bart and Homer are watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, Bullwinkle and Underdog balloons, float by on the TV, and Bart is like,
Who's
"Who are
that?
these?" And Homer's so enthralled. He's like, "You don't know who Rocky and Bullwinkle is? An Underdog?" And then Bart says it wouldn't hurt him to use some cartoons made in the last 50 years, but if you do the math on it, these cartoons were within the last 50 years. Rocky
Yeah,
and
so
Bullwinkle was 59 and
yep,
Underdog was 64. So those are within the last 50
that's
years.
41 and 36. So
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Bart probably should know who I watched Rocky and Bullwinkle and Underdog as a kid. I love those cartoons as a kid and as an adult. So, and we know Bart likes comic books, so
Yeah, it's
feel like
really kind of weird. But the years thing is kind of funny because he's like 50 years. Well, these ones were within the last 50 years. But then Homer's like, "Son, this is a tradition. If you start building a balloon for every flash and pan cartoon character, you turn the parade into a farce." As Homer's saying this, we see Bart Balloon go flying by on the TV
that
behind
is
him.
fantastic. And not coincidentally, Bart was turned into a balloon in 1990.
Yeah, they just threw him out right away, man. They're like, dude, Simpsons household name. And it goes back to what we were talking about with the Bart t-shirts,
Oh yeah.
and him being banned in schools and stuff like that, where even though Bart had a bad influence on kids and teachers and parents didn't want
Yeah.
them wearing the shirts, Bart was still like such a household name that they
Mm-hmm.
turned him into the balloon.
So we see Maggie go for the glue because the glue lands in front of her bottle. Lisa picks it up, goes upstairs, and Maggie decides to follow her. And you look at the stairs, there's a skateboard, there's electrical outlets that are like zappy zappy with extension cords going all the way. The Simpsons have a very dangerous house. And we've seen
Yes.
Homer slip on the skateboard and fall down the stairs in an earlier episode.
Yep, and I do like how each time we see Bart, whether or even like part of the house near Bart's room or Bart's room, it's
Yeah.
always a horrible mess. And one
Yes.
thing I did notice is electrical outlets in the Simpsons house have no hole for the ground plug.
Interesting.
It's just the two lines. Now, I didn't do some research. I didn't do any research on this, but even my house that I just moved out of and into my new one, the basement, every outlet in the basement did not have a ground plug. And
See,
the house was made in 47, and
well,
obviously
that would
that was
explain it. Although
exactly.
you think in 70 years or 65 years when you moved in that time frame, they would have put new outlets in. Like my kitchen actually had the two-pronged outlets, and I just replaced them to be three-pronged outlets.
Yep.
But all of my basement outlets, the ones that I could see anyways, all have the three prongs. My house is built in 72. I
I
mean, they
just
could
kind
have
of
updated it.
I kind of want to know now. I kind of want to know what appliances and stuff the Simpsons have in their house because there are things in this world like refrigerators and washers and
Oh yeah.
dryers and stuff like that that do require three a ground plug. So, and I kind of wonder. So when we get to these future episodes of The Simpsons where they have actual computers and
Oh yeah.
laptops stuff like that, it'd be kind of interesting to kind of look around their house and see if the Simpsons at some point upgraded their plugs.
Yeah. So, Maggie goes into her Lisa's room, and we see Lisa working on her centerpiece. And we'll talk about what was in there when we get to the dinner. Lisa's like, "Oh, Maggie, you want to put your stamp on it?" Because it's the theme was females in history that had an impact.
Yep.
And Lisa just like, or Maggie scribbles something with a crayon, and Lisa gives Maggie a hug. So it shows that, Lisa cares for her baby sister. I think there's a few episodes, or maybe not, I could be wrong, where the kids kind of show contempt for Maggie, but I could be wrong.
So Bart gets bored, with being in the living room with Homer. So he
Yep.
goes into the kitchen to help Marge make dinner.
What can I
And
do? You can do the cranberry sauce. Where is it? It's on the second door from the
yeah,
left. No, the second door from the left.
second
Your
door.
other left. Mom, the can opener is broken. What? The can opener doesn't work. So
Mom,
basically,
yeah,
Marge tells Bart everything to do and still ends up doing it herself.
yep. I like Bart's song though. Mom, it's broken. Mom, it's broken. Mom, it's broken. Mom, it's
Now,
broken.
I don't recall any Thanksgiving outside of when we became adults, because a lot of the times when we were kids, we'd either go to Madison or we'd stay home and go out to eat. I don't ever really recall what, even when we went to Madison for Thanksgivings, I don't recall ever helping, you know,
No, I mean,
prepare
but
dinner.
Bart was bored. But Bart was bored. He wanted to show that he was a little bit helpful. He wanted to show he was thankful for his family and
So
help with dinner.
I not now, I mean, I help with Thanksgiving dinner where I can, but not often.
This is the part where Marge kind of shouts at Homer, "Hey, you got to go pick up Grandpa from the home." And
Yeah.
we learn in that scene that the Dallas Cowboys are Homer's favorite football team.
Boo.
I know. And so a couple things you notice on the TV is there's a couple Dallas Cowboy players, Jay Kogan and Wallace Wolodarski, and they are two Simpsons producers.
Hey, look at that. They like doing that. They like throwing Simpsons like writers and producers and creators into episodes.
Yep, exactly. And so
And he's like, I
Homer,
was gonna go at halftime, and then the doorbell rings.
exactly, and Patty and Selma are coming over for Thanksgiving, and they bring Swedish meatballs and trout almond ding. I mean,
The
those two
second,
items say Thanksgiving so well.
well, that second one sounds disgusting. I'll take Swedish meatballs.
Yeah, I mean, it's an appetizer. I could see Swedish meatballs being at least an appetizer at a Thanksgiving
Yeah.
dinner.
So Homer's just like, you know what? I am going to leave. And I like the fact that Marge is like, oh, you have to be nice to my sisters. He's like, fine. And he's nice to them. And as Patty and Selma pointed out, he probably wasn't sincere, which
And he
he probably
kisses them
wasn't.
too, and their faces are
Yeah.
so like,
Gross.
why is he kissing
And
us?
but they put down Marge for, dry turkey. And then Homer, tries to do something nice for Marge, and they're mean to him, and they're like, well, how can she put up with him? And it's like, you were just mean to him, like, or you were just mean to Marge like 2 seconds ago. I get they're sisters. You and I like to, joke at each other a little bit, but come on.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird, especially when they knew she was making a Thanksgiving dinner, and
Yeah,
and then you don't. Okay, it would have been ruder to bring a turkey than
that's
it would be to
true.
say your turkey. You know what I mean? It would have
Yeah.
been, instead of bringing two dishes that really don't mean much. But if you bring another turkey to it saying, "Oh, your turkey's dry, that's why we brought it," all that would have been low.
But this was also rude because they're like, oh well, now people have options as
Yes.
these are dinner. Like that's rude. And we know
Yep.
Selma and Patty aren't the nicest characters in Springfield.
No, they are not.
So
So, yep.
Homer drives to go pick up Grandpa, and he's listening to the halftime show. And the song that plays is called "Get Dancing" by Discotheques and the Sexolettes.
Which is kind of weird because according to the announcers, it's like "Hooray for Everything" performs a salute to the Western Hemisphere, the dancingest hemisphere of all. And then their prop is a giant half of a globe
Well,
on
it's the
the
Western Hemisphere.
yes, it's just a half. It's not the full globe. It's just the Western Hemisphere. That's a
I do,
weird.
I do have to say that song had a good beat to it. I kind of want to see if it's. I think it's a real song, so I kind
Well,
of want to download it.
well, if it was produced, it's a real song.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but I think it's kind of funny that I don't think things. Maybe now they do. I don't know if they do, but I don't think Thanksgiving Day games had halftime shows.
No, I watch a lot of football, and I watch a little bit on Thanksgiving. I don't tend to watch the halftime shows,
But do
but
they have them? I don't.
I feel like on Thanksgiving and obviously the Super Bowl, they do halftime shows. Any
Okay.
other time of the year, I feel like they don't. So I feel like Thanksgiving, at least one of the games has a halftime show or a halftime performance. I could be wrong.
Okay,
Again, I don't normally
we'll take a
watch
look
halftime.
this Thanksgiving. We'll take a look. I'm gonna
Okay.
watch all the games at least around halftime
Well, I
and
shouldn't be
see.
working on Thanksgiving this year, so I'll probably watch as much football as I can. Unless, of course, there is no football because of coronavirus. But
Yeah, we'll see if
so
it makes it that long. All right, so Homer goes to pick up Grandpa at the retirement home, and Homer's like, "Come on, Grandpa, this place is depressing." And
I
Grandpa's like,
live
"Hey,
here.
I live here." Oh well, I'm sure it's a blast once you get used to it.
I
I mean, I guess I've never really been to an old folks home except for my job, and yeah, they do seem
depressing.
slightly depressing, but I'm only in there for like an hour, so you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so Marge's mom comes to visit, and she gets dropped off by cab. So obviously, Marge really loves her mother, you know, because Homer gets to go pick up Grandpa. But
Well, but it sounds like, and we'll get to this in a second, but it sounds like she wasn't expecting her to come.
no,
I feel
I kind of
so.
think it does.
So before we get to that scene, I did have to point out that the sign at the old folks' home was fantastic. Thank you for not discussing the outside world.
Well, yes, you can't tell the old people what's going on because
But
they'll
they
just
have it. But here's the thing:
they have a
in a
TV.
previous
Yeah,
episode, in the political episode, we see Jasper and Abe watching TV. So they have to have some sort of connection to the outside world.
yeah, not just Nick at Night or
I feel
one
like
of
they
those.
have to have cable or basic or something. I
Yeah.
still think it's a funny sign. Like, oh
Yes.
yeah, they're here. Don't like tell them what's going on out there. They might get riled up or
Did you know
whatever.
people have phones attached to their hips? What?
So the reason I feel like Marge didn't know, first of all, Marge's mother comes and uses the back door. Why not just
Yo,
go through the front? Like she
I
taps on the window and she goes, "Oh, mom, you're here." Like I feel like Marge didn't know she was gonna come. That's my perspective.
maybe. I think it's kind of funny that she wandered through the back door.
Also, I do like the fact that when the cabbie drops her off, he goes to open the door for her on the sidewalk, and she gets out on the driver's side
Yes.
passenger door.
Yep. Oh,
She's old, man. She does what she wants. But
exactly. Why do you think she winds up at the back door?
exactly. So Marge's mom, her name is Jackie Bouvier. She makes her first appearance, and she has laryngitis.
Yep. So she can't talk much
No,
or at
but
all.
apparently she has enough strength in her voice to tell Marge she's a disappointment. So even if Marge was expecting her, did she really want her there?
Well, you know, it's really funny that we kind of talk about that. I guess I don't know what episode it is, but if Marge is so like upset at her mom, why would she try to set him up with Grandpa in that?
Yeah.
future
I don't
episode.
know.
Seems kind of weird. But now we actually get to Maggie again, and
Yep.
she's now watching football alone in the living room. Once again, no, I would not leave my 1-year-old unattended crawling all over their dangerous house.
I mean, would you really leave your 2-year-old unattended to crawl around your house?
As long as my gate is up. Yeah, he's actually pretty independent now. He does things on his own.
Okay.
As long as he's in his room or at least in the living room while, I'm around. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not unattended, but when he's in his room, he's unattended. Like he can go into his room on his own and play and stuff. So as
Yeah.
long as he's in a safe place, which obviously the Simpsons house is not a safe place.
No.
So this I did think this was another funny quote. So while Maggie's watching it, it's towards the end of the game, and there something big happens, and the announcer says the stadium is too big for flash photography to work, and no one seems to care. This is
It's
just hilarious to me because even to this day, when you're watching TV at a game or even at a game, you see flashes everywhere. Flashes don't do anything.
well, they do if you know anything about how cameras work.
But they
How
don't work on a large scale. You have to be within a certain
That's
feet of,
true.
because a flash brightens an area. The stadium
Correct.
was already bright because of all the lights in it. The flash is going to do literally nothing.
I mean, clearly you're right. It doesn't do anything, but it
It
doesn't
doesn't
ruin
enhance
the
your
picture.
No, but it doesn't enhance your photograph at all.
No. We get to the dinner table, and Lisa comes in with her centerpiece, and it's a tribute to the trailblazing women who made our country great. See, there's Georgia O'Keeffe, Susan B. Anthony, and this is Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Oh, this is actually the quote from her telling Maggie what it is. I put this in the wrong spot. But anyways, and she goes on to say, I'm sure you haven't heard of her, but she worked her whole life to preserve the Florida Everglades, which that's awesome.
Yeah.
Preservation. That's great. Like the centerpiece is gorgeous. However, it is very big. It barely fits on the table. And before we move on to go back to the football game, the game was actually played at the Pontiac Silverdome, which is weird because it was the Cowboys game, but that was the home of the Detroit Lions. So is it Lions versus Cowboys? They normally don't play each
Well,
other
yeah,
on
that's
Thanksgiving Day.
no, but I wonder because I remember looking this up not too long ago because I always wondered when 3 games happened on Thanksgiving because
That
it used to be
started, I
because it
believe, 10 years ago now.
yep. So it used to be Dallas played someone, the Lions played someone. It was only the
Mhm.
2 games on Thanksgiving, and then they introduced the third game. I
It was
don't know
it was
before that if it was maybe Detroit and Dallas.
No, it was always. I used to know the story of Thanksgiving football. I believe it was Detroit that started it. I can't quite remember. So any of our listeners out there would like to comment on this. I believe it was Detroit that started it. They got good ratings, and then eventually they brought Dallas in. Maybe when it was just one game, Detroit played Dallas every once in a while, or vice versa. And then it got really popular and more popular. And now we have 3 games on Thanksgiving.
Yep. So you mentioned why is the dining room table in the family room? I feel like they just needed more room for the amount of company they
I
had.
Okay, so they had Patty and Selma, Grandpa, Marge's mom, the kids, Homer and Marge. That's 8 people. I feel like they could have fit 8 people in the dining room.
I don't know. You look at the Simpsons' regular dining room table because remember, so our dining room table actually split and got bigger,
Correct.
and
That's
so that probably wouldn't fit. If you look at the Simpsons' actual dining room and all 6 of them sitting around the table, they're pretty tight in there.
I think they would have fit in the dining room.
No,
I think they
they
would have.
probably had to extend the table and move it into the living room. That's what I think.
So
So
as I mentioned before, sorry. Lisa's centerpiece is too big for the table. I wonder what that's going to lead to.
trouble. It always leads to trouble. It's Bart saying, "Here's the turkey," because obviously turkey is more important than a centerpiece. And Bart
Yes.
and Lisa, tangle over the centerpiece and it flies into the fire. And what was it, Grandpa's system that's like, oh, there it goes.
Goes. Yeah, I do like the fact that when Bart brings out the turkey, after Lisa presents her centerpiece, Homer goes, "Tom Turkey, now that's my hero." And I'm like, okay, maybe that's just on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because I feel like Duffman's his hero.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, why didn't Marge and Homer pull apart before the kids started fighting over the centerpiece? I think it just happened on the fly. I mean, yeah, they were arguing, but I think it just happened so fast. And
I don't know. That was a good 30 seconds to a minute before that centerpiece flew. I feel like
maybe
they could have stepped in and stopped it.
I think the centerpiece still would have been destroyed. Maybe not burnt to a crisp, but I think it would have still been
Yeah.
destroyed regardless. So Bart gets sent to his room without dinner, even though Bart's like, well, I'll have my, pumpkin pie and all my stuff sent up to me.
Nope.
But of course, you're going to your room without any dinner. And so Homer's, they're all sitting at the table, and Homer has his prayer. And
Yeah.
Lord, we're especially thankful for nuclear power, the cleanest, safest energy source there is, except for solar, which is just a pipe dream.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
don't know,
we like
man.
to think,
Solar energy, it's a thing.
yeah, now it is. Well, maybe back then it was, but
It's
it's
very
definitely
expensive back then,
back
but
then. Now it's pretty, but I like how he's like nuclear power, the cleanest, safest energy source there is, except
uh,
for solar. So solar is just slightly better than nuclear.
yeah.
But then he's like, anyway, we'd like to thank you for the occasional moments of peace and love in our families experienced. Well, not today. You saw what happened. Oh Lord, be honest. We are the most pathetic family in the universe, or what?
Yeah.
I mean, the Simpsons are always putting themselves down. I
Yeah.
love that it's America's family. At least it is like 30 seasons later. Now these are like it's America's family, but it seems so crazy
Yeah.
that in season 1 and 2, it's like this entire family, even though they're supposed to be like America's family or original animated family, just put themselves down so harsh early on.
Yeah.
So now we see Homer drinking a Duff while everyone else is drinking wine at the table
Yep.
because gotta have one person at least has to have a beer on Thanksgiving. And we get upstairs and Bart's kind of really cranky, and we learn that he's just really upset and he's really messy. And he's like, I just tried bringing out the turkey, and I'd just rather run away.
Yeah.
And I think didn't Lisa come in to try and figure out why, or was that not even?
No, I no. So Marge had gone upstairs to console Lisa. She's
That's right.
playing the
Yep.
saxophone, and then she yells at Bart, saying, "Oh yeah, you're not coming out of your room until you give a heartfelt apology to Lisa in front of everybody." And that's when Bart's like, "You know what? I'm out of here." He jumps out the window, and you hear Homer yelling at Santa's little helper for stealing a drumstick, and Homer kicks the dog out as well. And that's when Bart tells Santa's little helper, "You know what? We don't need this," and they run away.
Yep. And once again, just like our last episode, Dead Pudding Society, we really get a good kind of look and understanding of Santa's Little Helper. Because I mean, since episode 1, we really haven't had much of a look at him.
Yeah.
And so we see Bart run away, and the first place he stops is Burns' mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And Burns lives at the intersection of, was that Crusoe?
Croesus and Mammon, and those are two mythological figures of greed.
Well, it's fitting that Burns lives there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Burns lives in his own cul-de-sac and then got to name his own streets.
I mean, maybe.
That'd be kind of. I mean, people get to make up street names all the time when new developments are built. So
That's true. It's
so
very
Burns could
true.
have built his own mansion in his own little lot and said, "These are my streets."
Well, I mean, he is rich.
Exactly. And he wastes
So
lots of food.
yes. He takes a couple bites of what I'm assuming was turkey, and he's like, "Oh, I couldn't eat another bite." And Smithers like, "Well, did you save room for pie?" And he's like, "Of course." And they pan out, and you see this large dining room table with a humongous spread, and it's just like, why did they cook so much for an 81-year-old man? 87?
81. I think that's the age we learned Burns was
Yeah.
a couple episodes
Like,
ago.
really? They need to cook all that food, and then he's just gonna throw it away?
Unless the caterers thought that Burns actually had friends and family.
Maybe.
or or they were expect maybe Burns actually sent out invitations to his entire nuclear power plant, and everyone was like, "We're not going to Burns's Thanksgiving."
I don't know.
Bart comes up to the windowsill and sees the pie, and I love the laser grid alarm system that Burns
Yeah.
seems to have on his house
I
because
do have a question. Does anybody still cool a pie on a window anymore?
I don't know. I think you just put it on a pie rack and put it in your on your counter and let it cool.
I mean, again, it's November. November, at least here in the upper Midwest, gets super cold.
Well, it'll cool your pie off really quick
Yeah.
then. And so we see one of the guards when the alarms goes off is reading Les Miserables,
Which
which
that's a really weird reference.
yeah, it seems kind of well. Burns has very studious guards.
Yeah.
I think we like it. And so this is the first time Burns releases the hounds in The Simpsons.
Release the hounds.
And Bart makes it very difficult to get through a bush, which I think he got through pretty easily on the first go.
Yeah. I mean, getting through a bush shouldn't be that hard.
No, I mean he was like kind of pushing, and then at the very last minute, because you got to be as dramatic as humanly
Mhm.
possible, he fell through the bush. And I like how the dogs just, you know, Bart can get through a bush, but apparently the hounds, unless they have those invisible collars on, the invisible
Yeah.
fence collars.
That's true. It could be an invisible fence. I mean, it's
Yep.
Burns. He had a laser grid for a pie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he has technology.
Yeah.
So
So
Bart and Santa's little helper head to the wrong side of the tracks.
I do like before that, Bart's stomach grumbles
Oh yeah,
and Santa's little helper like growls at it. I mean, if I were a dog and I heard that noise, I'd probably growl too.
maybe. But you know, so Bart goes to the wrong
So
side of the tracks, and there is one thing. So on his excursion, Bart walks through a large drain pipe upon
yes,
which Vandal has painted El Barto, to be assuming that it was Bart that painted it.
yeah, Alberto, absolutely.
So inside the other side of the tracks, which actually in another upcoming episodes, I feel like we get to the other side of the tracks again.
Well, there is
But
the itchy and scratchy
that's
episode.
the one. That's the one where they go to the other side of the tracks and scoot through it really quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
So on the other side of the tracks, we have a massage parlor. Yeah, I think we all know what that means.
yeah.
A liquor store with a sign that says, "Yes, we have rot gut."
Yeah, you get rock good from the wrong side of the tracks liquor stores.
We sure do.
So Bart obviously has no money and he's pretty much doing anything he can to help himself out, and he sees a blood donation, which was more of it was actually a plasma donation center. And
Correct.
in my experience from donating plasma for like 13 years, they normally don't do blood drives, but I guess it is possible that I mean they
Well,
can draw blood. Don't get me wrong;
yeah,
they plasma centers can draw blood if absolutely necessary, but it's
yeah,
not a normal thing.
no.
But Bart goes in there and has Homer's ID.
I feel like if you're an adult and you look at that, you look at the kid, there's no way that that's him. They look
I
like
know.
two very different people, and yet they're like, "All right, come this way. We're gonna stick a needle in you."
I I would have unless Bart see Bart is not smart enough to like post a picture over Homer's face.
Or maybe he is that smart.
I you just don't know. With
You
Bart so
don't know.
far, with Bart so far, it just doesn't seem like he's smart enough to do that. Or it could have been one of those, you put your thumb over the photo when you
That's
show
true.
someone your ID.
That's
Could have
true.
could have been that. It could have
Could have
been
been that.
that. So Homer has no will of his own.
Yeah, we cut back to the house and they're talking about Lisa and Bart, and Grandpa's like, "Oh yeah, we basically just told Homer what to do and he'd do it." And Abe was like, "Isn't that right, Homer?" "Yes, Dad."
Yep. Yeah, Homer was never stubborn. He always folded instantly over anything. And if he had no will of his own, isn't that true? Yep.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Homer just he just folded like a deck of cards.
yeah,
So Bart stumbles out of the blood bank, blood drawing place, and he passes out from donating blood.
yeah. Well, that's gonna happen when you're an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, but at least he got a cookie.
that eventually Santa's little helper ate because
Yeah,
Bart passed out.
exactly. Yeah. And so a couple homeless guys pick him up and take him to a mission to get food.
Yeah.
And we get I don't want to say our first appearance, maybe our second appearance of Kent
This is
Brockman.
definitely Kent Brockman's second or third
Second.
appearance. I
Okay.
believe second. I like the fact that he's like making fun of the homeless people and deriding them, and one of the homeless people is like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going somewhere with this." And Kent Brockman, he's kind of a dick. He's
Oh, he
not a
is.
nice person. He despises the middle class, as we've seen in multiple episodes. He does not like,
Yep.
and if he doesn't like the middle class, there's no way he's gonna like homeless people.
No.
I'm
But
not
he
gonna get
has
into the reason why, because there is a reason the Simpsons give, but we're not gonna get into that.
but he wants to win his Emmy, so he has to
Yes.
do the puff pieces at
Yep.
the homeless
I
shelter.
smell another Emmy coming. Local Emmy. Sorry, it's a local Emmy. Which,
A
let's
local
be
Emmy.
honest, I've been nominated for a local Emmy. If
See, they're
I've been
just giving away these trophies. They're just giving them away.
but I didn't win. Well,
So
by me, I mean our TV station didn't win. So
oh,
I didn't win.
exactly.
Well, it was a group nomination, but we all
Oh,
get our
okay.
own little plaque that says you've been nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, you got a participation trophy. That's so cute.
It wasn't a trophy, it was a nomination. I didn't even get a trophy.
Not even a sheet of paper or something that says.
Well, I got a sheet of paper that says I was nominated for an
Oh,
Emmy.
there you go. Just frame it and put it on your wall.
I did.
Oh, good. Perfect.
It's already there.
Behind all your pops, right?
Like, no, it's actually displayed up in my living room.
Okay. Right next to your diploma, right?
No, my diploma, I actually don't know where my diploma is. I think it's in a box somewhere. Actually, I know where I do actually know where my diploma is. It's in a box that hasn't been unpacked.
Not like you need it. You already have a job, so
yeah.
I don't think you really need to prove that you have a diploma anymore.
Probably not. I have enough experience in my field.
Exactly. We cut back to the house, and the Simpsons are watching the news broadcast, and the TV is now in front of the fireplace.
And not even on a TV stand. It's on the ground in front of the fireplace, and they just had a fire there. That's not safe.
You know what would have been funnier? Granted, yes, for the story, they had to have, the news on for the storyline. But what it would have been even funnier is if they had like the Yule log Christmas fire.
Oh yeah.
On the TV in front of the fireplace. That would have been really funny.
Yeah.
But for the story they had to have.
Yeah. So Lisa comes down, she wrote a poem which was based off another poem that I'm not even going to mention because I don't even know.
Oh, I got it for you. So Lisa's poem is strongly reminiscent of Allen Ginsberg's Howl.
I have no idea who that is. I'm just going to flat out say that.
Yeah. She also keeps a book of his work on a shelf next to Jack Kerouac's On the Road. So Lisa, is very into books, as we have learned. Yes. And obviously we knew she had an Edgar Allan Poe book because she read Bart that Raven in the Treehouse of Horror episode we just did.
But did she read that out of a school book?
Yeah, Lisa steals all her books and puts them on her shelf.
Clearly. Exactly.
She has such an in with the library, or even the school library, that she could just take books home and just keep them. Mm-hmm. But then, Lisa gives her speech, and Bart's now on TV with Ken Brockman, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been on the run for 5 years."
He's clearly a child. Like, I don't want to assume that a smaller person is a child. But in the context of The Simpsons, he's clearly a child.
But I do like how Bart's like, all right, $12, free grub to boot, Viva Skid Row.
Yeah. So the Simpsons see Bart on television, and this is probably hands down my favorite moment of this episode. Homer goes to the phone and he goes, "Hello, operator, give me the number for 911. Like, I still quote that. I still quote that line to this day. I love it. It's Homer to a T.
Yep. And so obviously they know that Bart's at the place, but Grandpa Simpson and Grandma Simpson, or Grandma Bouvier, I guess, want to go home. And Grandpa's reason is they will pronounce him legally dead if he's not back by 9 and collect his insurance.
Boy, that is an awful, awful retirement home.
Well, look at it like this. If you are being checked out, so Homer has to check out his dad
It's
from
true.
the home. And so if he's not back by 9,
Couldn't they
not
just call the home and be like, "Hey, yeah, we're not bringing him back by 9. He's still alive. There, done. He can
nope.
stay."
Nope, that's not how you do it.
No.
But Bart actually, kind of has that thing in his gut where he's like, I did something. Finally, he kind of realizes I did something wrong. Gives his $12 to the homeless guys who are definitely okay with taking $12 from a kid.
You guys wouldn't feel weird taking $12 from a kid, would you? Would you? No, 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 I wouldn't.
Yep. And so Bart goes home and kind of daydreams about what's going to happen when he returns. And it kind of seems all nice at first,
Yeah,
like all daydreams.
yeah.
And then Homer blames him for going bald. Abe blames him for being old. And of course, Maggie blames him for not being able to talk.
I love it. I love it because, as we all know, in Simpsons roasting over an open fire, Marge in her letter says, "Oh, Maggie's gonna talk any day now," and she still's not talking.
Nope, not a. Now, was that. Now, I'm guessing that was Bart's dream saying that
Correct.
Maggie. Now, but was it coming from Maggie's thoughts? Or was it Maggie saying
No,
that it's
because she
your.
still had the pacifier in her mouth.
Exactly. So it's like Bart can read Maggie's mind
Clearly.
in his daydream.
Yeah. So after he's like, "Oh man, I can't go back inside. They're all gonna hate me." He's able to climb a tree onto the roof, and he finds all the stuff that he's thrown onto the roof over the years.
Yep. I mean, frisbees, baseballs, footballs, basketballs, pretty much everything. And although the roof of the Simpsons house is graded, balls still get stuck up there.
I mean, I can understand like flatter things like a frisbee or like a beanbag or something, but a ball is definitely rolling off because you and I we played basketball and a little threw the ball around in the driveway and we threw tennis balls up in the roof. The only way that tennis ball never came down is if it got stuck in the gutter.
Exactly. So it's kind of weird that the artist drew ball related objects stuck on the roof.
Yeah, that's a little weird. That ball is gonna not stay up there. It's coming down.
Yep. So Bart and Lisa end up on the roof together because Lisa hears, Bart talking to himself up on the
No, no,
roof.
no. Bart hears
Oh,
Lisa crying.
oh, crying. Right. It's the other way
And
around.
so he whispers in the vent, "Hey, Lisa, I'm on the roof." And she comes up there. And this is kind of a weird spot in the episode for me. Even though it's the end, it's still kind of weird because Lisa's like, "Why did you do it?" And Bart's like, "I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I do the things I do." For a moment there, like you watch it and he is exhibiting symptoms of a narcissistic person
Yep.
or even a sociopath because sociopaths have no empathy. They just do whatever they want. And so when Lisa's like, "Look deep down, I know it's there," and he does it, and he's like, he gives that heartfelt apology to Lisa, and Lisa accepts it because she understands that it's sincere. At first, they're like, "Oh, yeah, Bart is kind of a psychopath," but no, he actually feels feelings. I was like,
Yep.
did they have to go that route?
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems so odd because as we'll see in Simpsons flashbacks when they're like little kids,
Yeah.
Bart helps Lisa with ice cream that falls on the ground, or I mean, there's just I will go over it when we get to those episodes, but there's so many things when Bart is younger where he's willing to help his sister no matter what. And there's other episodes where they seem to be on the same page, and yeah, they have disagreements every now and again,
And we
but
know,
they,
like, look, we know Bart is kind of a problem child,
you know,
but even so, he may or may not be a. I don't think they needed to show the scene where he's like, "Oh, I don't know why I do the things I do. I just do them." And it's like, you could have just, maybe had Lisa say a few more words, and then he's just like, they show him just standing there thinking and talking it out like he does after Lisa says it and just cut out that chunk. I don't think that
yeah.
chunk was needed.
All right, so we end the episode with the Simpsons eating as a family, as they probably should have at the beginning of the episode instead of inviting everyone over.
Yeah.
just having a nice little Thanksgiving meal, just all of them eating leftovers.
I have one other question. So Bart and Lisa are on the roof. Was Homer listening to them, or could he see them? Because he's standing on the toilet with his head out the window.
I mean, my guess would be listening because you can't see backwards over a roof from
My
anywhere
other
in
my
anyone's
other
house.
question is, how did they know the kids were on the roof? I mean, I
Well,
guess they probably heard Bart yelling.
yeah, kids are loud.
Okay.
I mean, they're a loud bunch. You could probably hear them, especially if Homer was like upstairs, like in his bedroom, or
That's true.
going to the bathroom or something crazy. Well, he was in the bathroom, so he was probably going to the bathroom,
Maybe.
and he heard him up on the roof.
That Simpsons house is so weird, man.
Yep, it is a crazy house. I mean, I have the Lego built house, and
Yeah.
it still seems rather
Weird.
odd.
Yes.
Yep. So, final thoughts on the episode. This is not one of my favorite episodes. I just how it's put together, just the randomness of it. I'm not going to go as far as a doe, but I am going to go eat my shorts.
Okay.
I mean, there's not. It just seems so depressing, and it just seems so wild. I mean, you go from the Super Bowl or the halftime part of it, and Homer watching football. You get so you get the pieces of Thanksgiving out of this episode, but I think the story is just chopped up and just all over the place. Like, it just doesn't seem like a very linear episode to me. It just
So I'm gonna try to change your mind. It is a perfect example, I believe, of an average Thanksgiving for a middle class family. Like, every family has their minor issues here and there. I'm sure Thanksgiving's past, maybe I did something stupid, or you did something stupid, or one of our cousins maybe did something and somebody got yelled at. There's a lot of
we were
yelling.
awesome.
Yeah,
We were
okay.
awesome.
Sure. But I feel like this episode perfectly encapsulates everything about Thanksgiving. You have football, you have the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, you have Bart kind of ruining Thanksgiving, you have family over that you might not want actually over. Now, the second half is less about Thanksgiving and more about the aftermath. It still kind of happens. I mean, it still happens on Thanksgiving. The back half of the story, okay, yeah, the roof scene where Bart's like, I don't know why I did all this. I'm a psychopath. And then he's like, oh, maybe I'm not a psychopath. You get the apology, you get the heartfeltness of it. You see the Simpsons being a happy family at the end, which is all you really want on Thanksgiving, is to be with your family and be happy. I know that's hard for some families and easier for some, but I think this episode does a really good job of capturing Thanksgiving as a whole. I'm not going to go 5. It's not that good. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go sprinkles. There's some really good lines in there. You have the Marge's sisters coming over being brats and being mean to their sister, which, look, there are families out there who have siblings who are mean to one another. You and we're not that mean to one another. I like this episode. It's not one of their best. I wouldn't go 3. I wouldn't Don't Have a Cow, because I'd still recommend people watch it. So I'm gonna go 4.
Oh, I think people should watch every episode.
Well,
I mean,
you're not
regardless of my ratings or our ratings through future episodes, I say every person should watch every episode of The Simpsons, because it's an amazing animated series. And
it is. But did I change your mind?
I mean, like you meant, no, like you did say that it doesn't encompass Thanksgiving. It has all the bits of Thanksgiving, which that's what I said before. I'm like, it has all the things from Thanksgiving. It's just how it's put together.
I like how it's put together outside of that last scene. Second to last scene.
Just how it was put together just didn't make me want to give it more than a 2. So, sorry.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but
you know what? You're wrong. No, I'm just joking.
No.
You know what? Maybe we'll just split it down the middle and we'll both have a 3. No, we're gonna go with our ratings, because that's how we plan this show.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna hit it off with a character profile here for you guys, and it's the glorious local Emmy-winning news anchor Kent Brockman. As I mentioned, that's his occupation. He's a local Emmy-winning news anchor.
Yep.
Not the best news anchor, but still a news anchor nonetheless.
Clearly, he's doing something good if he's winning local Emmys.
He's doing a lot of puff pieces.
You're not wrong.
So he hosts a few shows on the TV network: Springfield Action News, Eye on Springfield, Smartline, and My 2 Cents. And that, of all four of those, My 2 Cents is probably one of my favorite segments. That
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I can't wait to hit those episodes.
Yep, those are gonna be good. So his biggest windfall: winning the lottery and announcing it on the air, later turning up with a gold medallion around his neck.
If I won the lottery and I was a news anchor, you better believe I'm not announcing that on the air. I'm not doing it. I'm going to sit there quietly. I'm not even going to look at my numbers. I'm going to go home, check my numbers, realize that I won, and then you never see me again.
Yep.
Because the problem is, and we'll get into it later in that episode, is lottery winners tend to be targeted by the wrong kind of people.
Yep. So he's married to Stephanie, the weather lady, which we're gonna have to keep an eye out for this because I didn't think he was married. Maybe he was. I can't remember.
I don't ever recall him saying he's married, and I don't ever recall seeing the local weather lady.
Now remember, this is hearsay because we did see during the episode that, was it Grandpa or someone told someone that, oh, he's the guy that's married to the weather lady.
That's true, yeah. I believe Grandpa Simpson said that.
Yep. So at this point, I think it's hearsay until we hear otherwise or see otherwise. Turn-ons, bikinis, scandals, the warm feeling he gets when he uses a cliche.
Yeah, that sounds like a news anchor.
Yep. And his turn-offs: being interrupted, being questioned, and when his Danish is stolen.
Oh my god, I forgot about that episode.
Yep.
Oh, good
stuff. So yeah, and one last thing, I started this last episode. I think it's kind of cool. I got a quote to go along with our character profile from Kent Brockman. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been to Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq, and I can say without hyperbole that this is 1,000,000 times worse than all of them put together.
I can't wait to find out where that quote comes from.
Yes, we will get to that quote, but it's a really good quote.
So. It is a very good quote.
All right, so as I mentioned last episode, kind of cool news out of the Simpsons Did It camp is we do have our YouTube channel up and running.
Yep.
One thing that we did kind of question, and we'll put it out to you guys: would you like to still see our Simpsons Did It logo on the header of all of our channels? Or would you be more interested to see what we could come up with a screenshot or a screen capture of an episode over our channels? So for those of you that follow us or soon to be following us on Instagram and Facebook, just shoot us a message or email at thesimpsonsdiditpod@gmail.com and let us know what you think, or if you prefer. You can also leave comments, obviously, on the quote-unquote videos on the YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe because we want our own URL. We need at least 100 subscribers to have our own very own URL and not some random numbers and letters. So if you could please subscribe, that would be awesome. That'd be amazing. I would like to tell people to go to youtube.com/The Simpsons Did It podcast.
Yes.
As opposed to the other thing.
At this point, if you are going to look for us on YouTube, search The Simpsons Did It podcast and filter it to channels, and you will find us much easier.
Exactly. And in the coming days, you'll notice that we post the link on our social medias.
Yes.
Also,
so you can just click that.
You can click that. I'm also posting an Instagram, and I believe it's on Facebook now, is our Linktree URL. So if you click the Linktree URL, you can actually get the links for every single one of our podcast locations.
And who doesn't like everything in one single location?
Exactly. So until next time, I'm Steven Skolansky.
I'm Robert Skolansky.
And this has been The Simpsons Did It.